I've been doing this job now for 2.5 years, coming into the organization as a relatively outsider, which they were looking for. And they approached me for this job. I did tell them from the start, if you want to keep it as it is, don't talk to me. I'm not your guy, because I think it's a great organization that has achieved a lot. It can achieve so much more. So if you choose me, probably why you also approach me, then you know that I will be there to make a big change. Being an outsider has been enabling us to completely open up all the possibilities. I think there were several areas where it had become chasing its own tail. You know, it's the contest, and we have a book and an exhibition, and we go around the world, and by the time we think about new stuff, the new contest is there. So it was all driven by one thing, making the work. So I said this really needs to change into a platform, and it also needs to be a place which is not neutral anymore. This does not fit with this time. It has to take a position, and it has to take on several issues. If you want to make a change, you can't just sit back and say the world will tell us what to do. I think there's many issues that challenge photojournalism or visual journalism, photography in general, creative worlds in general. It's very clear there's a lot of female photographers, but how come only 15% of the people that participate in our contest are female photographers? That's awful. That's ridiculous. We have to change that. I'm listening in to female editors and photographers the last 2 days, and they have talks amongst themselves, and we work with the IWMF, and we experience strange answers and strange questions and sometimes shocking behavior. The fact that we are thinking about how to change it and what to do and making these efforts, I think it has made a little bit of progress, which is great, but it needs to pick up speed, and it needs to be addressed, and it definitely needs to be fixed. If I will see next year that it's again 15%, I know I have to make it an even bigger effort. So only thing I can do right now is reach out to them and say, send it in. Only 2% of the participants are from Africa, while we know there's 1 billion people living there. It's the biggest continent there is, and we know there are fantastic, amazing storytellers there. You can't just say, yeah, we've seen this issue and we point it out. No, you have to do something. So this is why we started the African Journalist Database with Everyday Africa, to make sure that there's no excuse for the industry to say, I can't find anybody in Africa. We say, well, here's the list. There's 400 or 500 people on it. And it's great to see that it gets tangible results, because people do get hired and they use local photographers. What can you do to help photographers that are on their own? Traditional media is disrupted and is disappearing. The agency model is almost dead. There's really big challenges there, but it's also showing something very promising. There is an audience. People love going to talks. I mean, lift up your foot and another festival is there, right? You just can't keep up. So it shows that there's money, there's value, and people want to enjoy images and photography. If you want to be successful, study success, right? And there's so many examples of photographers that do quite well, sometimes even extremely well. How come they thrive and the others not? It means that you have to adapt yourself to this new environment where other things are necessary than just pushing the button. It needs a lot of intelligence and a lot of business skills. Working together in general is a good thing, which is extremely difficult for many photographers because they're lone wolves. I think there's still a lot of strength in cooperation. You see a lot of new cooperation coming up where they not necessarily are driven by an agency model where they together make money. It's not so difficult with technology. So it needs to go from more individualistic behavior to integrated systems. It's not about the industry selling our stuff, but together you have more power and more knowledge.